From your local election headquarters, this is Big Country Politics on KTAB.
All right, welcome back to Big Country Politics. We're talking to Dr. Paul Fabrizio, political science professor over at McMurray University. Thanks again for being here. We always like having you on the show.
It's good to be here.
Well, I want to talk to you about something we saw in a package before the break. It's on the ballot apparently, and state tax in Texas. The person in the package said people are pleasantly surprised when they come to Texas and they see that they get a bigger chunk of their paycheck.
Yes, yes. There is no income tax, state income tax here in Texas. And I used to live in Baltimore, and there was not only a state income tax, but a city income tax as well. So coming here was just delightful. And then, of course, you get hit with your property tax bill, and you go, oh, okay.
That's where
that's where they're going to get me. But still, there's something that Texas sells, it's proud of, and I think there's a lot of reasons for it, good reasons for having this.
Well, and one of them is that it, like you said, it's a selling point for Texas, really, and it brings people and companies, business to the state, right?
Yes, exactly. It is one of the things that you talk to economic development people, and they always sell, hey, you don't have to pay a personal income tax. When I talk to my students at McMurray, it's really a non-issue for them now until they get a job, and then they go, oh, look at this. This is pretty cool. So well, it's a nice thing.
Well, even at that age, you know, you're getting a job, and I don't know if you're paying that close of attention to where your taxes are going. You're looking at your paycheck. I think you're just getting your money, and it's later on when you have a mortgage and you have, you know, a family. That's when every penny counts.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. And here, just like any other state, there's things that government has to do, and the government's going to get its money one way or another. And Texas chooses to get it through property taxes and sales taxes, not through income tax. So in essence, it's getting it in a more indirect way, so we don't feel the pain as much, I think, as when you're sitting there with a city income tax bill.
Wow.
That freaked me out when I got, oh no.
I had never heard of that.
That was something else.
Well, you know, Texas is not the only state. I believe Florida doesn't have a state income tax.
Yeah, I think there's 8 or 9 states that
don't. And I think those states are seeing a growth, right? Or at least most of them. Yeah. I know Texas is and Florida is, obviously.
Yeah, it's obviously a selling point.
Yeah.
And then you look at other states, because they have an income tax, they're automatically called a high income, a high tax state. And so, you know, I grew up in Southern California, and California considered a high tax state. And you know it because you have to pay an income tax. It's right there in front of you.
And you see it all the time.
You see it.
That's right. Yeah, you're reminded of it all the time. Well, you mentioned living in Baltimore.
Yes.
There's some sad news coming out of Baltimore right now. Elijah Cummings has passed. Mm-hmm. Talk about him, very well respected.
Yes, yes. When I lived in Baltimore, he was in the state legislature. I never had a chance to meet him, but he has a reputation for being thoughtful, being a leader, and also for caring deeply about his people. He never really left the inner city where he grew up, and that's where his residence is until the day he died, till today, was in the inner city. So he was really in touch with the issues there. But at the same time, he also was one of those politicians who could, as we say, reach across the aisle and be friendly with people in the other party. And in fact, it really surprised people earlier this year when he announced that one of his best friends was Mark Meadows, one of the most conservative pro-Trump Congress people from North Carolina. It was like, wow, who would have thought that they would have anything in common, let alone form a friendship, and in fact they did. And so that says a lot about both of those men. Elijah Cummings rose and he was chair of the House Oversight Committee. Mm-hmm. So he did his homework, he did what it took to become a leader and become a force in the House of Representatives. His death was a shock. It's sad. President Trump tweeted about it this morning.
I was going to say, he tweeted about it.
Yeah.
Very respectful tweet. from the president.
Yes, as you need to remember, in the early days of the administration, President Trump and Elijah Cummings actually reached out to each other, and they talked about the possibility of working together on infrastructure and trying to combat the issues in the inner city of Baltimore. And that didn't work over time, but at least they had cordiality towards each other.
When somebody like that passes away, what does it do to those relationships? You know, reaching across the aisle, and he was really an advocate for that. What does that do, you think? How do they? What does that do to the feeling in Washington, you think? I mean, hard to say, but in your experience.
Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. If you'll forgive me.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Excuse me. I'm not getting choked up. I apologize for this. I think what it does is it tells everybody that there is a higher calling than just being mad at each other. It seems when we look at Congress today, it's Republicans against Democrats on everything. And the reality is that's not the way it has to be. And Elijah Cummings reaching out with other people is an example of that. So, and I apologize for my voice.
We're going to bring you some water right now.
So, thank you so much.
That's fine.
But it's just one of those things that we need to be aware of. There is a history in Congress, in addition to being angry at each other, there is also a history of being friendly with each other across party lines. Look back, for example, at Ronald Reagan and also
let's continue that.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break, and we'll continue that after the break.
Okay.
We'll be right back on Big Country Politics.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.